I know this isn't the type of video I normally upload, and frankly, I think it'll be the only one of its kind, because I am in no way qualified to teach anybody about God or Jesus, because I'm still learning myself at the time I'm making this video. But I wanted to share my story at least one time. So I was a in and out type of Christian for most of my life. Before I entered high school, I would go to church nearly every weekend, either through a regular service or a youth group type service. After I entered high school, though, I started going less and less until I pretty much stopped altogether. Except for special occasions like Christmas Eve. I didn't start regularly attending church until sometime after I moved into this house. And for a while, it was still pretty in and out for me. Sometimes I would hear what the preacher was saying and think, oh, this is great advice, I needed to hear this. Other times I would sit in the audience thinking, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. Part of me used to think, maybe God doesn't even really exist. Then something major happened. Let me rewind a few years. This part's going to be a little difficult to talk about. I'm going to try and be careful with my language to not set off any algorithms, but this is something millions and millions of people struggle with. I don't think anyone will disagree that you will have a hard time finding a person in Western society, male or female, that doesn't look at adult videos or images. It's as common as air at this point. There's petabytes of it on the internet. Now, for most of my teenage and adult life, I treated those kind of spicy videos as a every now and then kind of thing. Something I could use to blow off steam every once in a while. Plus, for the longest time, I lived with other people, so that always made me hesitant to go and look at that kind of stuff. So, it was never an issue for me. Then I got my first apartment. I lived alone for many months. I didn't have to be careful about when I go and look at this stuff. I could do it whenever I wanted. That's when the downward slope began. I slowly started to look at adult content more and more. I used to look at it maybe once or twice a week. After I moved out of my dad's house, it became more like 3 times a week. Then that 3 times a week turned into 4 times a week. Then 4 times turned into 5 times. After a while, I had a roommate move into my apartment with me. Then I had to start being careful again about when I go on those spicy websites. But what happened was, my urge to go on spicy websites became stronger. I would often have some kind of itching feeling like, man, I wish my roommate would go to sleep already so I can go on those websites. Then I got this house. For over a year, no family or roommates to share a roof with. Just me. I never had to be careful about when I go on spicy websites. And that's when it really started to become more of a necessity than a release for me. What I noticed is that onanism, again trying to be careful with my words, saps away a huge amount of energy. Once I did it, I had no interest in doing anything productive. And I knew that was a problem. I thought, I need to stop looking at this kind of content so much. But I couldn't. And I wasn't sure why. Actually, I knew why, but my pride wouldn't let me admit it. I was addicted to adult content. And for a while, I was in denial. I thought, oh, there's no way I'm addicted to this stuff. I'm stronger than that. And that denial is what let it get even worse. Soon it was at the point I was doing it at least once a day, but on days I didn't have to work, it'd be 2 or 3 times. I started turning down hanging out with my friends in favor of looking at spicy pictures. I had an external hard drive that had maybe 100 gigs of adult videos and pictures stored on it. At some point, my denial could no longer hide the truth from me. I admitted, I'm addicted and I need help. That's when the Lord stepped in. Throughout the latter half of my addiction, I was still going to church most Sundays, but I still had that feeling that maybe God's not really involved with this world, if he exists at all. Little did I know. In August, I got the coronavirus for the first time, and boy did that suck. I used to think I had gotten the virus back in 2020 during the beginning of the pandemic, but that was really just a tiny cold, if anything else. Also, it was before testing was available. This time, I actually tested positive for the virus, and the symptoms were much more pronounced. I lived alone during this time, so I still had to prepare food, take care of my house, collect the mail, among other things. But most of the time, I was lying in bed or lying on the couch. I was too weak to do anything, including feeding my addiction. When those 2 weeks passed and the virus fully left my body, I felt great. I felt better than great. And I realized something. My addiction to adult content was gone. Completely. I had no interest in going on any spicy websites or plugging in that external hard drive. Nothing. Gone. That doesn't just happen. Someone watching right now is probably thinking, oh, that's just a coincidence. I'm telling you, it couldn't have been. This is something I struggled with for years. It defies logic for this problem to just disappear after I get sick one time. Have you ever heard of a meth addict losing their addiction because they got sick one time? I certainly haven't. Those guys will let their teeth fall out of their head before they stop doing such a drug. Would you really expect the flu to make them stop? Anyways, here we are today. It's been nearly 5 months since I got COVID, and I haven't looked at any pornography since. And it wasn't because of my own willpower. It was God. Who else could have pulled off such a miracle? No more do I have any doubts about his existence. He is real. He has an enemy named Satan. He has a son named Jesus who died on a cross for us. And I want to be his. If you think you want something similar, I'd say start here. The Gospel according to Matthew. You can get a Bible pretty much anywhere these days. You can download a free one right onto your phone. I'm sure a lot of people will simply brush off everything I've said. There might be someone in the comments saying, GameCubeDude, have you read the Bible? Do you know what kind of nonsense there is in it? If you're one of those people, just let me give you one thing to think about. A common argument against the Bible is how it doesn't mention the dinosaurs. What if I told you it does?
This dinosaur will leave every atheist speechless. Many skeptics reject the Bible because they say there's no mention of dinosaurs there. Okay, Mr. Atheist, in a moment's time, I'm going to describe to you a creature called Behemoth. And as I read this description, you tell me, what is this creature it's describing? This creature has a long tail like a cedar tree. This creature eats a plant-based diet. This creature can stand in the middle of a raging river without being disturbed. And this creature, above all, is so powerful that no man can capture it. What is this creature the Bible is describing? Well, if you can't see that it's a Brontosaurus or a Diplodocus, personally, I think you're being a little bit stubborn.
And just so we're clear, dinosaur bones are said to have been first discovered in the 17th century, long after the Bible was written. There's a lot of risks for me to say all this publicly, but he is worth it. To everyone who hears my voice, I declare to you that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Thank you, and God bless.